Good morning. I'm Jay Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the November 7th, 2024 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. Today I want to look at what Boaz said to Ruth in Ruth chapter 2. You remember that Ruth was a Moabitess, which meant a foreigner, a traditional enemy of the state of Israel. But she had been married to Naomi, a devout Jewish woman, to Naomi's son who had died. And now Naomi was coming back into Israel to try to live as a widow. There were welfare type laws there that would protect widows. And so she and her faithful daughter-in-law, who loved her very much, came back. You know that Ruth said, whither thou goest, I will go. Whither thou liest, I will lie. And your God will be my God, and your people my people. She tried to do what was right. Ruth became a Jew. She wanted to follow God. She loved God. And she did not return to her own family and her own pagan ways, as would have been frankly, probably easier for her and would have been expected socially, and which was offered to her by Naomi. But she loved Naomi, and she loved Naomi's God, and so she wanted to do what was right. In doing right, she wound up being in the field of someone who would be her future husband. And it really is almost like a Hallmark movie. But it's one of those movies where there's no bad guy, they're all good guys, and it all works out great. And it's a beautiful story. I love the story of Ruth. And one of the things that's fascinating is this. As Boaz first meets her, he is charmed by her great kindness, her faithfulness, her responsibility, the things that we really ought to be drawn to, not the shallow things, the deeper things. And before he has any romantic thoughts about her whatsoever, he is very impressed with her as a person, someone who is seeking after God, someone who is loving and supportive and is doing the right things, not for rewards, but because it's the right thing to do. And interestingly, in his very first meeting with her, he tells her that he wants her to be blessed. And he prays that God will give her, and this is interesting, a full reward. Now, in the ancient Hebrew, the term that is being described as a full reward is actually, interestingly, it means a void being filled. And it also has the female version of the word shalom in it, which means peace. So it literally means he's hoping that God will give her a peace and fill a void in her life. I love that because, when you do right, not because you're hoping to get glory and grandeur and people love you and think you're wonderful, not for that kind of thing, but just because, if that stuff comes, well, so be it. But because you are going to do what is right, and it comes out of pure motives and love and genuine faithfulness, there is a reward that comes with that. And it is the reward of your life is filled with meaning. And there is a peace with God, a peace with your own conscience and with the Spirit of the Lord. And the thing I love the most about this is that those words were really the first things out of the mouth of the man who would himself be the vehicle by which she would be so blessed. And frankly, in being part of her full reward, guess what he gets? He gets his own full reward because she was quite a woman and would be quite a wife for him. I think this is a beautiful love story, but it's also a beautiful metaphor for how God treats us and what God wants to give us. Some of you know that my favorite verse is John 10:10, for I have come to give life and life more abundantly. The idea of a full reward is the idea of abundant life. And the fact that a beautiful romantic love story is the vehicle by which we are shown that yet again is a beautiful thing. I'm J. Lenore Bressler. Visit me on the next edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. Have a great day.